wanna talk? So let's talk. Yeah. Talk. You wanna talk? You gotta talk, you need to talk. News talk.
I talk, you talk to Solomon. I talk, you talk to Solomon. Yeah, let's talk to Solomon. Talk to Solomon.
You gotta talk, you wanna talk.
Welcome, my friends. It's Talk to Solomon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Stan Solomon, my co-host.
Chief Steve.
And my other co-host.
Jerry Curry.
Oh, you're not a co-host. You're the guest of honor. Greg Howard is with us, our financial expert. And, of course, our guest of honor is Major General Jerry Curry. General, how was your Thanksgiving?
Wonderful Thanksgiving. Really, some friends had invited me out for their house for dinner, and there were probably, about 12, a dozen, 2 dozen people there, and I ate too much, and it was all excellent.
Well, that's what Thanksgiving is all about, thanking God and then eating too much and praying that God will allow you to get through the day without getting sick. But at any rate, I don't know how we go anyplace else but Benghazi. We're seeing the UN ambassador, Susan Rice, who claims she didn't know the gun was loaded. She had no idea what she was giving people was 100% bullcrap. She said we never intended to misinform people, but yet they kept pumping crap from that well for 2 weeks, even though they knew in 2 hours that none of it was true. What is your impression?
Yeah, they intended to deliberately mislead the American people. That's what it was all about. And from the very beginning, that's where they were going. And they went there. They knew it was a lie. They knew they had misinformed the American people. But they also, I think, stopped and said to themselves, the Republicans, House and Senate, are so stupid they'll let us get away with it.
Well, I think they also thought the American people were so stupid, and they turned out being right, that at least half of the American people were willing to accept. I just think half the American people should be officially declared as mushrooms. That way they can be kept in the dark and fed bullcrap, and they'll thrive. So, General, the excuse me, the president and the attorney general, not the attorney general, the UN ambassador are both saying, if you object to her, then you're a racist and you're against women. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, the answer is call me a racist if you want to. I am going to stand up for what's good for the United States of America. And if that includes all of you guys lying about me and trying to malign my character and to call me a racist, help yourself. Go at it. But I am not going to back off. You are not going to take advantage of the American people like this.
Chief?
Well, it's obvious that they were telling a big lie. And you look at the story, so Obama said, and our idiot vice president said that, bin Laden's been killed and terrorism is dead, but GM is alive, when actually the opposite is true. Terrorism is alive and functioning, but those GM dealerships are still closed. And Susan Rice, if she doesn't know any better than this, if she doesn't know enough to check this out before she goes on 5 different television stations and blasts out a big lie, she's got no business being where she is at all, or anywhere else in our government.
Greg?
She knows it. She knows that that's wrong. She knows exactly what she's doing. And she's doing it because she thinks she can do anything she wants to. And Obama's the same way, and get away with it. And with the Republicans I see in the House and the Senate, who knows? She may get away with it.
Greg?
Well, when these people call me a racist, the only appropriate response is, I know you are, but what am I? It's so childish anymore. It's just beyond words. Of course she lied, and maybe she was fed a lie, but if you want to be the Secretary of State of the United States, I think you have a duty to do a little bit more than to look at a mimeographed or Xerox piece of paper or an email and just simply rely on this and then trot around in front of the United Nations and say this stuff. You need to attend your briefings and security briefings and know what the heck is going on. Of course, we know Obama never attended the security briefings, so he never knew what was going on. But if she wants to be Secretary of State, she had to do a little bit better job of vetting the information that was given to her. And a grown person, you know, I'm just a lowly Twitter person, and someone comes with a story to me, and I say, are you sure? What's your source?
By the way, Rand Paul has said that he's going to filibuster the defense bill because in that defense bill, Obama's going to release terrorists, probably all the people left at Gitmo. General, your thoughts?
I think that Paul is completely right. I'll tell you, I wouldn't hesitate to take Obama and his whole crew to the mat anytime. That's what ought to happen. We ought to take them to the mat. We ought to take them to the cliff and then push them over.
What do you have against the breakers down beneath? That you want them to be despoiled? All right. We won't suggest any physical harm to the president. That's not where we're going. But I do think it is outrageous what has been done, and now for some reason there are people in this country that don't think that Obama will take advantage of that he does not have to run for re-election. He obviously doesn't have to tell the truth. He obviously is not going to be held accountable for anything that he does. Who knows what this man will try, Chief?
Well, there's another part of this too, and that's that Americans can be arrested indefinitely under these laws. And so there's two parts to this. First of all, so what's going to happen is all the terrorists are going to be released, and then Americans can be arrested indefinitely. So it's just topsy-turvy is what should happen. But if you look at this, it really appears that Obama doesn't look at the Muslim terrorists as terrorists. He looks at them as some type of freedom fighters battling governments like ours that are oppressive and should not exist. So Obama is really on the terrorist side in all of these debates.
I do think there's an interesting story here. Let's see if I can find it. Well, I'll go get to what Morsi is doing, but there was a guy in Gaza. This guy, every picture of him is as a freedom fighter, whatever you want to call him, armed and hates Israel and wants to kill Jews, the whole 9 yards. And they're saying he was murdered and lynched because he was collaborating with Israel. There's not a shred, not a scintilla of evidence, and everything in his entire life has been in exactly the opposite direction. And now they're saying, and again, I'm not there, they're saying that in fact it was two Muslim radicals that disagreed over whatever they disagreed on, and this guy just murdered this guy and said, well, I did it because he was collaborating with Israel, and left his 5 kids without a dad, and in that part of the world, that's not a good thing for the kids. And they did horrible things to his body afterwards, dragged him behind motorcycles where he was just ripped to shreds. And, you know, as I said, the only thing that Muslims like to kill more than Jews is they like to kill other Muslims, and this is just one more instance of that. General?
Yeah, I think that's exactly true. There is something in their makeup that just seems to love to go and do these horrible, awful, terrible things, commit these horrible crimes, and then they'll blame it on most anything. And then, of course, everybody just says, yeah. I don't hear anything coming out of Saudi Arabia, for example. If there ought to be some screaming and hollering about this kind of thing, but there isn't a Muslim country in the world, it seems to me, that is interested in showing the way for the Muslim world, the way to live, the way to act, the way to behave, the way to carry yourselves, the way for the country to be moved forward into democracy. It just isn't there. Nobody seems to care. And they will play any game you want to play. They will blame anybody you want to blame. And in the end, they will just sort of say, well, shrug their shoulders and say, well, that's just the way it is.
Greg?
Well, it's a cultural thing, and the culture is because of the religion of Islam. If you can call it a religion, first of all, it is not really a religion. It is a political ideology masked as a religion. It's a cultural ideology masked as a religion, but basically it has no value for human life. It has no value for women. It has no value for anything that we consider to be valuable as Americans, as Judeo-Christian Americans. and I emphasize the fact that we are Judeo-Christian. A good half of our religion comes from the Old Testament, which would bring our Judeo part of it to it. These folks, I've lived among them. I have been there. They have absolutely no compunction about treating anybody who does not believe exactly as they do like dirt. They call them dhimmi. They have no problem with committing any unspeakable act and finding some verse in a Quran to justify it, or anything of this nature. For him to kill another person and say, well, I think he was collaborating. You can even get away with saying, I just think he was collaborating with Israel, and that'll be good enough. Why not?
By the way, this guy was
they have no respect for life.
He was in prison under armed guard during that conflict between Israel and Gaza, so he wasn't in a position to give information to anybody. So facts are irrelevant. Even believability they don't care about, because in their particular culture, that's one way to say it, that's acceptable. Now, speaking of their culture, listen to this. Ready? In Libya, where we, the United States, helped the people that took over in Libya. Ready? In Libya, they are kidnapping homosexual men and threatening to murder them, strictly and solely because they're homosexuals. Now, I wonder if the nude queers, I'm sorry, I don't mean to demean the name queer, the nude Fruit Loops that were in front of Boehner's office saying that you should give more money to AIDS-infected homosexual people. I wonder if they had someplace tattooed on their ugly bodies, stop taking people just because they're homosexual and either threatening or murdering them if you happen to be in a Muslim country. But that's exactly what they do. General, am I overstating?
No, I understand that's pretty much the way they are. Listen, these folks have no they're not in any way restrained by decency, honesty, goodness, kindness, thoughtfulness. All of these things are foreign to them, and they really don't care one way or the other. And they would just as soon murder a woman as murder a man, and they would just as soon murder a Christian as murder a Jew, and they would love to murder Jews and Christians. And when they run out of people to murder, they'll murder Arabs.
By the way, they're also saying they're going to torture them. And most people don't want to talk about the fact that Ambassador Chris Stevens was an out-of-the-closet homosexual. And I saw the videos where he was publicly sodomized with whatever instrument they were using because they knew he was a homosexual, and only this administration would send a homosexual to be the ambassador to a Muslim country and expect, and then they're going to blame the people getting upset on a video? Hello? Can you imagine? You talk about an affront. You talk about a stick in their ear. You talking about a, drop dead. That's what that was. Now, I didn't know Chris Stevens. I didn't wish him any ill. If I could have protected his life, I certainly would have. And if they had sent him to any number of countries in the world, that would have been a non-issue. But sending an open homosexual to a Muslim country, General, you were involved in high levels of diplomacy. Is that something you would normally do?
It doesn't make any sense. When it first came out, I said, this is the dumbest thing in the world. The only thing I could figure out was that the Obama administration was trying to say to the world, see how much we rely on this homosexual ambassador. Therefore, you all should rely on your homosexuals also, equally.
Well, that's one thought. Or it might have said that the Arab Spring has changed Arabs or Muslims, which are primarily Arabs, from being degenerate murderers without conscience to somehow sensitive Renaissance men. Wrong.
That's about. I love that, sensitive Renaissance men. Oh, that's great stuff.
Yeah, well, The last sense of Renaissance man in an Arab country was on the Crusades, I think. But
wait. There's another part of this. There's another part of this that we need to at least mention in passing, and that is many Muslims, many Arabs specifically, Turks, for example, in Turkey, are homosexuals. They give this lip service to their anti-homosexual, but the truth of the matter is a lot of them at the top of the heap are, unfortunately. But that's the way it is, and then they lie about killing homosexuals.
Well, they don't consider men sodomizing young boys as homosexuality. That's a tradition. Very few of them are older men who have an older man as a lover. As I understand, now you correct me if I'm wrong, General, that the common practice over there is that young boys are used for pleasure by many in the Muslim world, but they don't consider that there's no marriage, there's no partnership, there's no love. It's just something they enjoy doing. Is that close?
I think so. Yes, that's the way it is. At least that's the way it's been explained to me.
Greg, you were over there. Are we just making stuff up here?
No, and that practice also goes back into the Greek culture, so it's not alien at all to that part of the world. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, because I know that when Ahmadinejad, who is that miniature Hitler, a guy who, when he was circumcised, they threw away the wrong piece, said, don't anybody laugh at that, said that they didn't have homosexuals in Iran. Well, the answer is they don't, because they don't consider men sodomizing young boys as homosexuality. They would consider a man wanting to have a relationship, with another man, that's a homosexual to them, and they don't have that because they kill those people. Chief?
Well, whether Ambassador Stevens was a homosexual or not, President Obama was duty-bound to do everything possible to protect him, and he failed to do that. He did not attend his security briefings. He did not have the adequate number of Marines that were available to protect him over there, or even get them out of there before this happened. It was obvious to a lot of people it was going to happen, and it did. Also, in the last story, the person that was murdered and dragged through the street, the story mentioned that he was in jail for 55 days, tortured for 55 days before he confessed to being an Israeli sympathizer. So it just shows that the Muslim community in the Middle East, they're not like us at all. And they will go to any lengths at all to have total, pure Islamic. Greg is right, it's not a religion, it's a way of life for them. But there was no negotiation possible. So Americans think we can negotiate with them and change their way of life or their way of thinking. It's just not going to happen. They're going to do their best to murder us.
By the way, you said something there. I'll let the general comment on it. A pure Islamic society. In 1,500 years, they've never stopped killing each other. In 1,500 years, they've never gotten through the weekend without somebody killing somebody, and there was no one around but Muslims. General, is there any such thing as being a good Muslim or the right Muslim or all the Muslims agreeing?
Well, from their standpoint, they're good. The idea of killing your brother or your sister or your neighbor down the street, I mean, that just goes with the territory. They don't have a big deal or a big problem by that. But Greg mentioned the fact that this kind of action has been going on since the days of Greece. And that's a fact. Greece and Rome, this was normal living. And there's been no change yet, and there's not going to be a change in the future. And anybody, including the president, who thinks for 1 second that you can kiss up to these people, or you can be nice to them, or you can train them, or you can be sweet to them, or you can teach them things, the answer is you're kidding yourself. 4,000 years we haven't been able to do it, and it's not going to happen on my watch.
All right, well, I think watch is maybe the operative word for this president, because there are three kinds of people: those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who wonder what happened. I think he's in the third category, and then he tries to react. We're going through some of these things kind of quickly, but I want to talk about the fact that we have now in Egypt a perfect example. It didn't even take as long as I thought it would. That you have an election, the guy they elected, Morsi, has now said, I'm the new pharaoh. I have 100% of the power. The legislature has no power. The military has no power. The judiciary has no power. I have all the power. So now I can say yes, no, and it will happen. Live, die, and it will happen. In, out, it will happen. War, peace, it will happen. And the Egyptians are saying, WTF. Now, I won't translate that. But they're saying, what? We risk our lives? We went to the mat. A lot of us died to replace Mubarak with someone who's 10 times worse than Mubarak. And yet, our president and our government says, oh, everything is hunky-dory. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, this when this business started with the Arab Spring and all, I sat down one day and made some notes to myself, and I said, this is the way this will turn out. And I came within 99.99% of being totally correct all across the margin of this thing. There is just no way in the world that you can be a part of the Arab Spring and come out with democracy and a republic kind of structure of government, that sort of thing. That's not going to happen. These people have no interest in democracy. They have no interest in freedom. They do not have the Judeo-Christian philosophy, background, foundation that we have and that our forefathers all had. They don't have it. Not only that, they don't value it. They don't want it. They're not seeking it, and they're not looking for it. These folks are going to be murderers and thieves all of their lives, and the best thing that you can do, I think, is get as far away from them as you could get and stay there.
I think that's something like give them all firearms, have them form a circle, and commence firing.
Yes.
Greg?
Well, this is a classic example of when you let a neophyte in charge of world events and foreign policy. They took out a dictator, and there's no question Mubarak was a dictator, but he was a reliable dictator who, for the most part, at least operated rationally. Instead, they created a huge power vacuum, which is what occurs every time you dethrone or decapitate a country, as Egypt was decapitated. And into that vacuum swept in the biggest strongman who could grab the throne the first. This usually leads to what happened. You have a bully. And the first thing a bully does is he starts beating up everyone around him and grabbing up as much authority and power as he can take for himself and that he thinks he can get away with. In this case, Morsi has set himself up to be a pharaoh. Absolute power over life and death and law, and he's going to create a state of Sharia if he can get away with it. This is why you don't need political neophytes who've never been vetted, who've never held a job in their life, who've never been elected to anything above senator, and who never served more than one day in the Senate before they started running for the next office to be elected president of the United States. And Benghazi is why you don't need someone who's never attended a security briefing or never attended a Armed Services Committee briefing to be the Commander-in-Chief of the United States. What we're getting is what we deserve when we put an idiot like this in the White House.
Well, I'm not going to argue that. The question is, what do we do? Because we is not we anymore. There's us'ns and them'ns, as they say down in Georgia. And right now, us'ns, I don't want to lose everything that I've worked a lifetime to build. I don't want my family to have no future, my grandkids and my great-grandkids. And yet, I know that if we do nothing, that's exactly what they will have, no future. When we come back, we're going to talk about that more. And also, I want to talk more about what's going to happen in Egypt. That's 100 million people. That's no small country. That's not Iraq. That's not Iran. That's not, Libya. You're talking about the 5th or 6th most populous country, or 7th or 8th, certainly in the top 10 in the world. That's a big deal. We'll be right back. Do you have a cell phone? I do. In fact, everyone I know does. There's only one problem with cell phones. They're too damn high. You remember that guy. With me is Ted Williams, one of America's experts on cell phones, and a guy who's been responsible, along with his company, for hundreds of thousands of people saving money on cell phones. Ted, thank you for joining us. Talk to us.
Well, I tell you, Stan, right now, every dollar a person can save is a dollar earned. I'm telling you, in this economy, the price of gas and the unsure situation with employment, our business is tailor-made, and our cell phone packages are tailor-made to help everyone out.
All right, let's state a few facts. Unlimited service isn't unlimited service anymore, right or wrong?
It's right for a lot of the big carriers that you're familiar with, but our company has got truly unlimited talk, text, and web. We don't slow speeds down. We don't charge you after 1 or 2 gigabytes. It's truly unlimited, running on a nationwide network with roaming options if people want it.
And to get unlimited service, which many people use today in their business, you're going to spend $120, $130, $140. How do you compare?
We've got plans that start at $20 with rollover minutes, and our truly unlimited talk, text, and web plan is $59 a month. Again, no limits on the data, and the exciting thing is you can earn, as a customer, you can earn free service by simply referring a few customers to us. That earns you free service potentially for the rest of your life.
Now, let me make sure I'm hearing this correctly. Without paying money, without being in the business, simply, if you're a customer, at whatever the customer costs are, and I assume there are no deposits or that type of thing, that if you refer a few friends and they get service, you can earn free service for yourself?
Absolutely. It's, as you said, no contract, no deposit, no credit check. And we have many payment options. They can be auto-billed, auto-debited, phone in and make your payment over the phone, or, a lot of options on how to pay the bill. But truly unlimited talk, text, and web available to you for $59 a month, and if you refer a few friends, totally free.
Now, 2 other questions. You said roaming is an option. How much does it cost?
If you have unlimited nationwide roaming, it would be an additional $20.
You're still only $79.
Correct. But you may not need it because we are on the nationwide network.
Okay. And the second thing is, do you only have dial-up phones that you have to carry in a suitcase, or do you actually have the latest and greatest Droid phones?
We have Android phones are the hottest selling items right now on our site. But we also cater to those people that all they have a need for is a simple flip phone. So you can go from the top of the line phone to a free phone.
And are you competitive on those prices?
Absolutely. The phones, most people don't realize this, but the phone prices you hear on television are tied into contracts. We don't have a contract. So our phone, you buy it, you own it, and you pay the real price. The way you can find out how competitive it is simply ask any of those big 3 or 4 companies, what is the price of the phone if I don't have to sign a contract? And they'll tell you many of those Android phones are $400.
There you go. All right, folks, you can get more information by dialing 1-800-299-8362, or just go to cpnlive.com and click on the icon that says Get Free Phone Service. Free. Free. I can afford free. Can you?
Free is good.
Thanks.